It is such an exciting time in the world. There is so much happening, so many changes, a lot of changes, maybe sometimes too many changes. That's why I have a guest for you today. I'm so excited. I wanted to bring on our resident astrologer, Johannes Lockwood, to share with us insights about how the astrology of our times is affecting the world and you personally. So welcome, Johannes. Yay.
Yeah, thank you, Kari. Thank you. So glad to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's so great to have you here. Johannes is the resident astrologer at KariSamuels.com, and he's done readings for so many people now, and minds have been blown. Everybody's just written me back with this incredible feedback. It's so wonderful. And I'm just so happy to have you here. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you so much. And I mean, so wonderful that all the people that have come to us and come to me with the purpose of getting a reading. I mean, so much magic has been happening. So yeah, so thanks for that.
Yeah, people are always asking like, oh, how does this astrology affect me personally? And that's one of the reasons I brought you on here too. But it's kind of funny because Johannes and I first had this, we're recording right now. It's the beginning of February, 2026. And we started talking in October, like, hey, come on again. Let's do November. And then November got crazy. And then December got crazy. But by the time we came on here today, the topic kind of changed a bit.
Yeah, it did. And things are still crazy. So yeah.
Maybe crazier, but they're crazy in a different way. And so, because when we first started talking, we wanted to talk only about like how things are affecting us personally with all these changes. But then the world just got more and more showing the astrology, right? Because we live astrology. Astrology is not something out there. Astrology is something we live. Astrology is a map to show us what's happening within us and in our world. So Johannes and I are evolutionary astrologers, and that's one reason I resonate with him so well and that we get along so well. We also have very similar birth charts in some ways. Johannes, can you first explain to people what evolutionary astrology is?
Yes, of course. So it's, of course, a complex topic, but the premise of evolutionary astrology is that we all have a soul. We all have a soul that decides to be incarnated upon this plane with a purpose, or perhaps we should even say purpose in plural. So we're here with a mission, with a vision, and we have resources that will help us do this mission, but we also have troubles or traumas that will make it more difficult to integrate our mission and to accomplish our mission. And by utilizing the evolutionary astrology perspective, we can try to get a glimpse of what our mission is and how we accomplish it and what the challenges will be.
Well, I feel you will agree with me on this. I actually feel that the challenges are a part of our mission.
Exactly. Very much so. I mean, it's quite interesting. For instance, if we have a person whose primary mission is to gain trust in this world, let's say that person will often be born into a family where there is huge amount of trust issues. And the reason for this is that in order to understand the concept of trust, you of course need to be faced with the challenge of not having trust or having difficulties building trust. So it's not like you don't learn the concept of trust just being born into a family with a high degree of trust. You know, you need to work for it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some people do because their mission is to do other things, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But there's just in this specific case, it's often the lessons, or I would say always the lessons are super difficult because they need to get under our skin. They need to become integrated. The curriculum, sort of say, is difficult. I know. I mean, we need to have difficulties in doing so in order for it to really to integrate in our personality and in our soul.
Yeah, if something is just handed to you, you don't really learn it in your bones. And in the evolutionary astrology or just the soul-based perspective that I have, you don't learn necessarily by just having things fall in your lap. Like, for instance, there's an easy aspect in astrology called trines, when there's a harmonious flow. And if you look at people who have achieved great things, they actually have more challenges in those areas.
That's a very good point. I remember sitting at a family dinner at one point, and there was a lady sitting next to me with a lot of trines and also a lot of sextiles, which is the other very positive, flowy aspects, easy aspects. And to be honest, she was the most boring person ever.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah. I mean, and I have a friend who's also an astrologer, and she only has squares, which is a very, very dynamic, very powerful energy. And I mean, it's highly influential, highly capable. So there needs to be some kind of fiery, dynamic energy to it in order to become interesting, you know?
Yeah. When I studied theater, because I have a background in theater, and that's what I thought I wanted to do for a very long time. What you have to do in theater is you have to find your objective, like, okay, what does this person want? And then the obstacle. And if a scene was very boring, it's because you didn't understand the obstacle.
Exactly.
It's boring.
Exactly. And to some extent or not even to some extent, but in evolutionary astrology, we don't say this is a bad aspect, or this is a bad transit, or this is a good transit, or this is something. Yeah. We don't make the dichotomy like that, because everything is about learning. Everything is about growth. So in some aspect, in some other astrologies, we might have astrologers or people saying, oh, this Pluto transit is coming up. This will be horrifying. I might experience some really traumatic events, and there will be so much fear surrounding this transit.
Yeah.
But in evolutionary astrology, we don't go there. We say, okay, this is the challenge. What is the high frequency of this energy? What do we need to learn? What do we need to transcend and include and integrate in our life, in our soul, to become a more wholesome person?
Yeah. What did your soul choose to overcome in order for you to be strengthened and enlightened by this challenge?
Exactly. And it's a radical honesty. It's a radical responsibility. In old school astrology, you would say, oh, this planet is so bad and this is going to happen to me, and I feel so sorry for myself. No. Please stop. We create our own universe. We take full 100% responsibility for what we put out into the world, how we manifest our energies.
Yeah. And so right now, I would say the world is going through a growth spurt.
Yes. Exactly.
It is a very challenging time. So I wanted to talk to you about what the planet's showing is our growth spurt, like how we're meant to grow, in what areas, what can we do to empower ourselves? And these are some of the things that we'll be discussing today, because I'm sure you can agree we are in a growth spurt. And even now, Johannes is Danish. He lives in Denmark, in a beautiful, like, remote island, right? In Denmark.
Yeah, it's not the Greenland, but it's another island that.
And that's part of the insanity right now, right? That, like, at one point, like, no one would ever think there would be tension in your country or with our countries. And here we are.
Yes.
In the world of madness right now. So, can you, and I had seen this coming, well, since Saturn, and people have been hearing me talk about Saturn Neptune conjunction in my interpretation, and other astrologers, we're all talking about it now, because Saturn is the planet of boundaries. Neptune is the planet of dissolving boundaries. And that includes borders. And ever since I'd seen that Saturn-Neptune conjunction, I was like, wow, countries are going to invade other countries. Exactly. Because it's like a dissolution of borders. It's a redrawing of the map of the world. Now, mind you, I do not feel that America will ever take over Greenland or anything like that. But there is a lot of, I mean, not to say they won't try it, and there'll be a lot of there'll be a lot of that activity, and it will be shocking perhaps too, right? So do you want to talk about what are some of the challenges that you see coming up in the astrology this year and the
Definitely.
growth lessons around that?
Of course. So you say it beautifully that we have Neptune and we have Saturn ingressing going into Aries, 0 point Aries, which is a really resetting a point. And I mean, when we take Neptune and Saturn in front of each other, it's important to remember that eventually Neptune will actually come out as the winner, because I mean, Neptune is a transpersonal planet. Saturn is what we call a social planet. So the power embedded in the long run in Neptune is greater than that of Saturn. And when we talk about Neptune ingressing going into Aries, that's for at least a decade,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And
14
Saturn,
years, like
yeah,
1939.
yeah. And Saturn is only going to be in Aries for 2.5 years. So the energy, even though we say Saturn is heavy energy and things like that, yes, but it is a quicker energy than Neptune. So in order to understand this Neptune-Saturn conjunction, we really need also to focus on the concept of Neptune into Aries. And I think that is where, in a way, our true responsibility lies. How do we change our perception of spirituality? How do we change our perception of the astrological realm? How do we enable ourselves to stand up and say, we want this world, we want these values to be a big part of our journey ahead? Because let's be honest, we're very used to these safe spaces. I myself included, like I speak astrology with people I know, that I trust, that agrees with me. I rarely speak astrology or spirituality with people that disagrees with me. I'm very safe, So we need to bring out this spirituality and this astrology and talk and have meaningful conversations also when people disagree with us.
Do you know, that's so interesting, because like right before I got on here, I was having a conversation with someone who wrote to me because they said this was my safe space. And I had said something about protesting and boycotting companies that are supporting atrocities in our country right now, and an invasion of our civil liberties and humanity. And so she's like, she was very uncomfortable because this was her safe space. And I keep and what's the beautiful thing is we were able to have a conversation via email. Now, mind you, I do not want a lot of people emailing me. I don't have time for a lot of like, I don't want hundreds and hundreds of people. But I if someone, like a lot of people, if they disagree with me, they'll just like, it's so funny. They use the word disappointed. I'm so disappointed in you.
And it's okay. I mean, it's okay that people are disappointed in you, Kari. And it's okay that people
are you kidding me?
I know, yeah. And that's just the way it is. And I mean, it's a very learningful experience to be disappointed. And also to, of course, receive that disappointment. But the thing is, when we look on Neptune into 𝐴𝐸6, which has been going on since around 14 years or so, 15 years or so. I mean, there's been such a rise in spirituality, such a rise in astrology, and everything has been beautiful. And we have been doing a lot of healing work. We've been doing a lot of wounding has been shown for us. But now we've grown up, we have waken up, and now we need to show up,
I do. So I want to clarify a few things for people why Neptune, why we talk about it being associated with spirituality. And I also want to clarify that like other people's disappointment, a stranger's disappointment in me is not going to affect me. Okay. I want to clarify that. And that's a very Neptune and Aries thing. It's like Neptune is like, you have no boundaries. And because it's boundaryless, like the ocean, Neptune, god of the seas. And Aries is like, I am here, I'm standing up for myself. So if you're an empowered empath, you can still be sensitive to other people's energies, but not care what other people think about you, especially a stranger, right? But my other point to that was that it was, because this woman didn't, they didn't attack me, right? If someone's attacking me, you can't have conversations with people. And that's Aries energy, can be very like aggressive and attacking. But there's ways to do this where maybe some of the Neptune, which breaks down boundaries, and the Saturn, which builds boundaries, where you can do that in a way where you know your beliefs, but there's a merging of like common ground. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. But can you explain what Neptune is and why it is associated with spirituality and a bigger transpersonal type of exchange in our world?
Well, exactly. Yes. So we used to, I think actually it was Rick Levine, a famous astrologer, who said that we used to think that Saturn was the dimension of realism and Neptune was the dreamy boundaries. But in a way, we realized that it was the opposite. Like Saturn was the 3D world that we had to break through in order to really understand reality, which is Neptune. So it is, in a way, it's the higher frequency, it's the transcendental power, it's the imaginary, what we can imagine. It's also the reason why movies and poetry also is in the realms of Neptune. It's not what we can think of, but it's what we use our intuition, our transcendental power to tap into, not in a rational sense, but in a much more mystic sense. So it's the fogginess, it's the energy between all living people. What binds us together, really.
Yeah. Neptune is about depth and imagination. I do associate it with the ocean. The ocean is boundless and there's a lot of life under there. It's dreamy. It's full of all kinds of things, including some scary things, but it's also dreamy and beautiful and healing and connected to like the whole world is connected by water and we're made of water. Neptune is very much associated with right brain things, right?
Yeah, exactly. The creative power, the things that cannot just be spoken about, but can be dreamt or can be, manifested through creativity. Yeah, definitely.
And if you dream it, you can create it.
Exactly. And when something enters Aries, it kind of resets things.
Aries, is that what for Aries?
Aries, yes, exactly. It kind of resets things. So in a way, collectively, we can reboot, we can reset our collective dreams, our collective aspirations of what a kind of a world that we want to live in, what kind of communities we want to build, what kind of relational dynamics we want to build, what kind of individualistic approach we want to do, how we want to stand up. So we are rebooting, we are resetting our collective dreams and aspirations.
You're dreaming a new world into being. And Aries is that, since it's the first sign of the zodiac, and in the northern hemisphere, which is the archetype of Aries energy, is the sprout pushing through the earth to create something new, right?
Exactly.
And that's what we are doing. I do want to mention, you talk about Saturn and Pisces being wonderful. I was like very annoyed during a lot of Saturn and Pisces with the spiritual community because to me, it was like the era of spiritual bypassing. And there was a lot, I have 5 planets in Virgo and you know that. And that's all about, that is too, like very practical, very like, how do we make this real? And I am very much about your soul chose to be here, to be in the 3D realm. If you wanted to not deal with the drama down here, then I've never resonated with this whole where 5D. I mean, I completely believe that we have a part of our soul and our light body that's still connected to the spirit realm. So maybe that's what people are talking about, but
I love what you're saying, Kari, because
that's not all we are.
It's such a big taboo. Like, at least from what I'm hearing that you're saying is that you're like, hey, we also need to ground ourselves in our body, in our 3D world. We chose to be incarnated in this 3D. And when we look upon the spiritual realm and how like online spiritual communities are communicating, it is a lot about 5D world. Like,
it is. A lot of it.
It's so difficult because what does that even mean? You know, how do we...
I don't know.
I don't know either. And I feel so, like, to be honest, I feel so ashamed to always be like, I don't know. Like,
no,
we all talk about
don't
it.
Be ashamed. You are an evolutionary astrologer and you look at like what we're meant to be transcending, but in a karmic realm, like there's certain laws that are applied to being in a physical body that you're not meant to escape. You chose to be here. So I see a lot of teachers, I don't ascribe to them, but a lot of like very popular ones too, that teach, they say, oh, there's going to be a lot of drama down here and people are going to be upset about things. But that's just for the humans. You are transcending that. You are 5D. So don't get in. And I see people who are now standing up for the atrocities happening. And you have all these spiritual people who've been taught by these popular, I know I'm going to get a lot of comments. And again, Neptune and Aries, like whatever. So you see these people saying, this is where they're saying, like, I'm so disappointed in you. So much for love and light. Love and light is the equivalent to thoughts and prayers when we have, like, you know, something terrible happen here. It's just like nothing. It means nothing.
I love it. Yes. And we 100%. And we didn't even talk about this, but what you just, I get good goosebumps right now. Like, you're so true about this. And I mean, the thing is, we forgot the shadow on the way up into the light. We should never forget that in order to integrate all aspects or to really understand the light here in this realm of reality, we need to face the darkness. We need to face our demons. We need to face and reconnect to our traumas. And in that sense, our traumas, our shadows are beautiful. They're tough, but in a sense, they're beautiful because those are the things that we grow with. And if we only focus on all the light and all the 5D discourse narratives, there will be no growth. There will only be spiritual.
There will be no growth.
Exactly.
And I notice that the people who get very upset when people say, hey, we have to deal with this real world here. We need to be involved in our politics. You need to vote. You need to know where you're spending money or what you're doing and like moving this world that you chose to be in forward. And there's so much in the spiritual world that teaches people that somehow you get to like not partake in that and it's not going to affect you somehow. Yeah. But when I see that happening, when I see people absorbing this teaching, when I do readings for them, they don't want to know like what's happening. Like they'll be blindsided in other areas of their life, even if they don't think it's like political or something that's affecting them in the world. In your personal life, that's not going to work for you. Just like to like hope everything's better and to just like raise your vibration. Oh, hang on. I want to hear from you. But there was something about when you were talking about the darkness and all that. I was thinking of the Aries archetype. And we talk about the sprout. So everyone knows the ram and like the vitality and the courage and the warlike. But if you think about a seedling, it has to be buried in the dark with the worms and the bugs and the dead bodies and like all that's getting composted. Dark, dark, dark beneath the earth, which is where life is and starts. And then it has to like push through the earth. And it's not like, like if you think about what it's like to be a seed, like down in the dark earth, or like a butterfly in a chrysalis or whatever, like this is not an easy, pleasant process.
It isn't. It isn't. No, I'm completely with you. That's also the reason why this archetype is also the birthing of a baby. Like when you cut the what do you call it? The
umbilical cord. Yeah.
Yeah. That's also Aries archetype, because and when you push the baby out of the safety womb and you get out into the real world, that process of giving birth, that's also belong archetypally to Aries.
Yeah. So you definitely don't want to love and light your way like through the birth process.
Definitely.
I don't know how you do that.
No,
I don't know how you do it.
But I love the energy that you're putting into the virtual room here. And I think we just need to face that spirituality and astrology will now enter a phase of Genesis where we need to be much more proactive. We need to act upon our values. And we cannot just sit in a circle and hope that the universe will save us. Of course, we should still sit in circles. Yeah, of course, we should still do tremendously amount of trauma work. We should still face the darkness. But now we also need to be sitting or standing together with other people on the streets or doing something else, or doing other things than just sitting in a circle and doing retreats and things like that. Now we need to step out of the comfort zone in a radical different way.
Yeah, this is the birth process, right? This is the birth. Like, so the Pisces was kind of Neptune and Pisces in its home sign too was like the womb, right? It was like, oh, Neptune's in its home sign and it's all like very dreamy. And there's this like a sense of like, okay, maybe we can get by with love and light for a little bit. Trust me, I am all about love and light and also darkness, right? Light workers or shadow workers, right? So I'm all about the love. I'm all about all the things. I mean, come on. But at the same time, that is not why you incarnated into a body. And as a matter of fact, I work very closely with spirit guides as a psychic, and always, even as a child, like I was connected to spirit guides, even though I didn't know that's what they were. But I have this understanding we're spirit guides in training. And once you're a spirit guide, you're still down here helping with the drama of the world, just in a different perspective. It's you want to help with that. You want to be involved in some of the messiness and the challenges.
Exactly. And if we look, one thing is, of course, we're talking about Neptune, but there are also other astrological variables throughout 2026 that also tells the same story. For instance, like I would like to mention, like something which is very central in evolutionary astrology is, of course, the lunar nodes.
Yeah,
and the lunar nodes are also shifting sign. I mean, right now they are on the axis of Virgo and Pisces, but they're shifting to Leo Aquarius, and that will emphasize the whole balance between individual and the collective, and how we show up in the collective as strong individuals, not in the Piscean way where we lose our individuality, but where we understand that in a true individuality, we must face in a very healthy way the collective, and in a very healthy collective, we must never lose our individuality, that they belong together, those two.
They belong together. They belong together. That's why the Aquarian archetype is you are very much your own unique individual. And that is how you contribute to the collective.
Exactly. And another point I would like to highlight is also that the very interesting asteroid Chiron is shifting sign from Aries to Taurus. And that means like it goes on in the mid 2026. So we might, wherever Chiron, the asteroid Chiron is a lesson to be learned. There's something to be healed. And when Chiron, the asteroid, goes into Taurus, which is a very earthy, very material, 3D kind of energy, I mean, we might also be facing some pretty tough financial instability, some very, as a world, as a whole, there will be probably also scarce resources in some ways.
Well, because Taurus is food, money,
yes,
resources in general. And Chiron, I was actually going to ask you about Chiron because Chiron embodies everything we're talking about. Chiron is the wounded healer. Through overcoming Chiron, the mythological being, overcoming his wounds, became a doctor, a healer, right? So it's like that Chiron embodies the wounded healer. But yes, when Chiron is in Taurus, we have wounds that we need to overcome regarding resources. The other thing about that too, you were talking about the nodes. The South Node is going to be in Leo. So if the North Node was in Leo, as it was 12 years ago, when the North Node is in Leo, like in our history, the North Node was in Leo during the Roaring 20s. Isn't that funny? The Roaring 20s also, like Leo's roaring, right? And then the South Node was in Leo during the Depression.
Wow.
So we have that. It's definitely and also Uranus is finishing up its time in Taurus, and Uranus shakes things up.
Exactly. And that leads us to the concept of truth, because when you are talking about truth, often you hear about the archetype of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the opposite of Gemini. Sagittarius is objective truth. It's also where religion and philosophy resides in the concept of Sagittarius. But the opposite sign is Gemini. That's where relativism, information-seeking activities are. And I mean, when Uranus is going into Gemini,
which is going to happen at the end of April, I believe,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. We will see such a bombardment with information overload. It will be very difficult to fathom, to grasp the concept of truth with capital T. Everything will be about perspective. Everything will be a battle about perspective.
Well, Gemini, the shadow is that two-faced type of, the shadow of it. It's like you see one thing and you get another. And that is going to be a trine with Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto, the shadow, and Aquarius, technology and society. So sometimes that's where an easy energy you don't always want. Like, I mean, it's going to, of course, have many, many, many positive things, but it's also like, it's going to be easier to just like have duplicity with technology and things like that. So we definitely have an interesting time coming up. So Johannes, do you want to share like how this can affect people personally, or like what they can do personally?
Yeah, of course.
Or how you see this manifesting in people's lives?
Of course. I mean, just to put it in very simple terms, how to nail 2026 is really to take this Neptunian energy, this spiritual warrior, and really stand up for yourself and what you believe in, and really start to take proactive and loving action, trying to aspire and get into the mode of creating the world that we deserve as a society, but also taking the responsibility as Saturn ingresses into Aries. So to being the spiritual warrior, taking responsibility, acknowledging that the nodal axis will be between the shadow of Leo, like don't force yourself to necessarily to be too much on social media and be too much about the surface, but really try to be as authentic as possible. Try to join a collective with the like-minded people that enhances your own individuality and mirrors you correctly, and try together with this collective do work that empowers other and creates a society that we can be proud of, in the sense, you know?
Yeah. So how does it manifest for people to harness their own individuality? Like, what are some of the ways this manifests in people's lives?
I think it's about being brutally honest and brutally loving, in a way. Remembering that the concept of love is a verb, that we need to stand up, we need to wake up every morning and say, okay, today I decide to be loving, to believe in love, and really go about life with a loving mindset. Also when it involves people that disagree with you and that perhaps you think have weird opinions, but really try to have an open mind and talk to people and listen to people and build bridges, in a way.
Yeah, that's why I appreciated having the opportunity to have a conversation with someone that didn't feel safe. I want people to feel. I want everyone to feel safe.
Exactly.
In the world, right? But that doesn't come through niceness. It comes through authenticity. It comes when you try to do things because other people, you're basing who you are based on how you think other people are going to receive you. That's a good sign that you're moving away from this Aries energy that the universe is calling you to be. And so every time you feel yourself or think to yourself, when you're deciding, this is how the love manifests, right? Like when you're deciding, okay, this is what I want. And when you start to think about what you want to say, or like how other people are going to receive what you say, or like whether or not other people will like it, well, then you know you're moving away from yourself.
Exactly. It's a process of inside out, not outside in. Aries is in the opposite sign of Libra, and Libra is all about partnerships. It's all about the you. It's taking in the perspective of other people. But
Yeah.
Aries, it's about, okay, where is my heart? What do I believe in? What am I willing to fight for? And whenever I fight for something, I also need to sacrifice something.
Oh,
You know?
that's interesting.
But I think we need to realize that it's also a spiritual bypassing to believe that we can have everything. Because
That's true.
yes, I mean, and why would we have everything? Well, I mean, we need to, of course, develop ourselves. We need to grow, and the people that we surround ourselves, we would also like them to grow. But why would we ever want everything? Like, why should that be the purpose of something? I mean, that doesn't make sense to have everything. We want to have the things that makes the environment and the people around us and ourselves grow in a healthy way, but it shouldn't be everything, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's important to set intentions and then respond to how life is showing you whether those intentions are in alignment with your soul.
Exactly. And of course, it's interesting if people at home have their chart in front of them. Of course, there are many things that are interesting to look at, but it's interesting for people to pinpoint the 0 degrees areas, like the Neptune-Saturn conjunction. So in which house will this conjunction take place? Will it be, for instance, in that 10th house? That will be an indicator that their life forward, like their vision, their mission, their vocation, their work will need to reset. Will it be in the 4th house? It might be their family or their foundation, or will it be in the 7th house, their partnership? So there are so many interesting things because as you know, obviously we have 12 houses in astrology, all represent different life domains. So where this Saturn-Neptune conjunction takes place, that's going to be in some sense, the most important house for the year almost.
Yeah. So I have on my site a place where you can look up your birth chart and you can see where Aries is. There's other websites that have free charts where you look up where your 0 degrees Aries is. And also, Johannes, being our resident astrologer, he can also share with you how these energies, it's not just the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. There's so much happening. And every time the sky changes, it hits your chart in a different way and activates different things in your life. And Johannes, what do you do when you look at a chart? Because Johannes is offering discounted sessions. He does video recordings for you. You don't actually even need to show up personally. And he goes and works his magic.
I do video recordings, but I also actually do live sessions.
Are we adding that now? That's cool.
Yeah, because I just love people. So I need sometimes also just to feel.
That's good. Okay, so recordings and live sessions.
Exactly. Recordings and live sessions. And I mean, what I give through these readings is that I promise not to sugarcoat anything. I promise to be honest, but I promise to be, it's a very loving honesty. So I see obviously the potential of every soul that goes my way, but I promise that I will leave no stone untouched. So if you are afraid of facing your traumas, if you are afraid of facing your shadows, you shouldn't book a reading with me. But if you are interested in the shadows, in what you don't see, in how you were brought up, how you got the concept of comfort and safety, how that integrates and how you show up in your loving relationships or how you don't show up in your loving relationships, things like that. If you're curious about these things, it's going to be interesting to work with me because, people don't become like super happy necessarily, but they become so much more informed of their soul's journey and they get
empowered. I think they're happy. I've read the reviews. People are super happy.
Oh, they're super happy, of course. But yeah, they are super happy. But my purpose is not to create happiness, not necessarily in
not
the short term. It's to create honesty and empower people to go on their own soul's journey. You're
seeing things that are in the subconscious or that are in family constellations. You work a lot with family constellations and how family dynamics play out on a soul level.
Exactly. I believe that we chose our parents for a reason. I believe that we chose our traumas for a reason. I believe that we all have the potential to be healed through our traumas, through our acknowledgement. But the first important thing is, of course, to acknowledge that that's how things are.
Yeah. And so that's very similar to how I work. It's very soul-based and like, this is... When people would come to me for readings, they thought it would be all like sprinkles and fairy dust. And I'm like, no, we're going right to the shadow.
Exactly.
But it is empowering. It is empowering. It's super empowering. And it's for the purpose of healing. It's for the purpose of shining light on why things happen and what you can do, like why you're experiencing certain challenges, why you have had certain family dynamics or what your family dynamics are now and how you can move through them and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Which is super empowering. So I'll leave the link below and so people can sign up with you. Johannes, we have lots and lots more we're going to be talking about, but I'm going to bring you on again in the near future.
Thank you.
And as you know, I always like to leave people with a magic lesson, something they can do to empower themselves right now. One simple thing they can do to empower themselves to connect more with their luminous self in the world. So what magic lesson do you have for us today?
I think I would urge people to to talk to a stranger, and not just in a normal but try to talk to a stranger in a very meaningful way. Try to talk in a very deep way to a person you've never talked to before, and see how that will go. Where does that conversation take you? So experiment with how you meet people, how you open up, what kind of topics you discuss when you meet strangers. And I bet that you can actually talk more passionate, more intensely about more interesting stuff that you would ever imagine if you just pushed yourself a little bit over the edge.
I love that. I love that. I am that kind of person too, who loves to talk to just random people. But I'm glad I got to talk to someone so near and dear to me today, Johannes. I'm so happy that you showed up, and I'm so happy that we had this time together. And I'm so joyful that other people get to have time with you too, should they choose to. So once again, I'll leave a link for you to connect with Johannes. And any last words before we sign off?
I always get a bit of cramps in my chins when I talk to you because I smile so much. So just thank you for that cramp, Kari. It's a nice cramp. Yeah.
I have very strong cheek muscles myself. I always feel that way talking to you as well. So it's really, really wonderful to talk to you. I always love to bring you on and connect with you. It's such a joy, a kindred spirit, a like-hearted soul. So it's always wonderful to connect with you as well. And thank you all for being here with us. We wish you so much love. Lots of love. Bye for now.